Back here on a Thursday edition of the Lunchbox. Jeff Defoe DeForest is back. Mike Luby Lubitz is here. And now joining us, I guess from the offices and studios of Channel 10 in, I don't even know the town. Is it the Pembroke Park or it's on
Yeah,
Hallandale Beach Boulevard? I know I've been there, but investigative reporter, and you know him as I guess, the face of Dirty Dining. It's become a popular segment. Not popular with certain restaurateurs, and like one Joe Lay. And welcome to the Lunchbox, Jeff Weinseir. How are you today?
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. I am fine today.
Good. So let me get to it. I guess you've been doing Dirty Dining how long, and what caused it to come about? What was the genesis of the segment?
We have been doing Dirty Dining at Local 10 for 17 years now.
Oh, wow.
It was for a ratings period. We originally did bacteria and ice for a ratings period where we went around and we tested ice to see if there was bacteria in ice, and there was fecal matter in some
Oh
ice.
man, I hate when that happens.
And it turned out to be successful. And my boss is like, people eat out, people can relate to it. What can we do? And when you go to New York and when you go to California, and we spent some time in Wake County, North Carolina, the Raleigh area, where they also post restaurant inspection grades. So you know exactly what you're getting into. They don't do it here in Florida because the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association doesn't want it. And
They oppose it, yeah.
A lobbying group, and they don't believe in it. And so there's really no other way for the public to really know. It is public information. It's on the website, but most people don't know really how to navigate and get to it. So we make it easy for the public, to find that information. It's public information, but the layman really doesn't know how to get there. So we post the good and the bad. And we have a Dirty Dining segment. We have a Clean Plate segment as well, because the state doesn't allow.
It doesn't mandate posting letter grades like in many other big cities, metropolitan areas, New York.
We did the Dirty Dining segment, and it's just it's a popular
and that's another issue, and I'm glad that you brought it up and you raised it actually in the report that featured Esposito's and Joe. It was something that I was crusading for when I was the critic, because it just seems like a no-brainer to me. Like the most easiest way to get bad actors to clean up their acts is to publicly, make them put up their grades. The New York system is such that if somebody funks, like in this case, like let's say at Esposito's, they are given time to, open up with the reinspection, and then the inspectors show up again within a 30-day period unannounced. And that is what the letter grade is based on. So it does give second chances to operators that may have had a first shutdown. And again, if they end up getting the second surprise reinspection with flying colors, they can still get their A's. So it is a kind of forgiving system, and it's actually helped a lot of things. From what I read in New York, that the number of complaints about food poisoning was down, and just the number. It's such a competitive industry that places with B's, they could survive if they have a following and good food, but places with C's end up going out of business almost immediately. I wish we had that same system here in Florida. We do not, for reasons that you state. So we have journalists like yourself that is trying to do a watchdog role. But I assume you heard Mr. Lay and his, segment and some of his, contentions and critiques. But I guess, how do you respond of the whole fairness issue of, if it's somebody's first offense in 18 years for being shut down for bugs, do they deserve to have the spotlight shown on them like that?
I mean, if you have what's your exact question? I'm not going to respond to the way he reacted. If you have a specific question, I'll answer it. I mean,
his question, did you mention in the report that, it's his contention? I couldn't go back all 18 years. I just looked back what was posted on the website going back, I think 5 years to like 2019 or 20, but that he's never been shut down before or had a bug issue before. You don't think that's important?
No, it's not important, because
if somebody's been in business 20 years and this is their first time they've ever been dinged and shut down, you don't think that maybe they don't deserve to be spotlighted in dirty dining, that it should be maybe reserved for more chronic ones, people that are repeatedly offending and repeatedly getting shut down or repeatedly having to have follow-up inspections?
Let me say this, that the state inspectors are trained. They don't go around shutting restaurants. There aren't 20, 30 restaurants a week shut down in the entire state of Florida. When they shut you down for a reason, whether it's your first offense or your fifth offense. A first offense is irrelevant. The roaches are in your kitchen. The roaches carry 30 different types of bacteria when you're in your kitchen the first time. They carry salmonella. They can lead to sepsis, okay? Wherever roaches are, they defecate where they are that first time, okay? They're crawling in dirty drains. They eat the dirty organic matter in your mops. When the lights go out in your kitchen at night, they're crawling around your kitchen on clean utensils, possibly. And I'm not talking about Espositos, I'm talking generality. They're crawling around your prep tables. They're crawling around your kitchen that first time, and they cause foodborne illness. That is why the state-trained investigators order you shut that very first time. Your track record has nothing to do with it. People are eating in that restaurant. You have a responsibility to keep it clean, whether it's the first time or the fifth time. And what Mr. Esposito said to me in one of the conversations we had is that the inspector was in there with a flashlight. Maybe he didn't do that prior to this, or his staff didn't do that prior to this. And if anything comes out of this story, whether it's the first time or the fifth time, it's that hopefully that when he and or his employees lock the door now, that they never want to be in this position again. And maybe he will walk around his restaurant now with a flashlight and or his customers, and they will do what the inspector does to not be in this position again, because having roaches in your kitchen could cause a foodborne illness to a customer. It's as simple as that. He was ordered shut by the state. You know, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that he was the only place that week in the entire South Florida area that was ordered shut by a state inspector.
Well, I'm going to let Defoe ask a question. Go ahead.
To follow up with that, he said, and it was his quote, that I ruined his restaurant. No, he did, not me. It's his responsibility to keep his restaurant clean. He was ordered shut by the state. Mike, you had a follow up?
No, I just well, okay. One follow up, and then I want Defoe to chime in here. But on weeks that there are multiple shutdowns in Broward County or Miami and Broward, how do you choose which one to spotlight? And then other ones don't get those cameras trained on them. And and I guess he was saying because he was the only one, he ended up being the one that got spotlighted and featured on Dirty Dining. How do you do it on weeks when there are 4 or 5?
Well, first of all, rodents take precedent. They take precedent with the state as well, any kind of rodent issue. But we also take a look at where the roaches actually were.
So wait, rodents number 1, roaches number 2, and then food like preparation, like things held at improper temperatures or spoiled food number 3. Is that the ranking list?
They don't shut you down for spoiled food. The state of Florida shuts you down for roach issues, rodent issues, fly issues, sewage backup issues. If you have no water, potable water, they shut you down. There are certain things that they shut you down for. Refrigeration issues. Rodent issues are number 1. The second part is, where are the roaches in conjunction where the food is, where the food prep is. In his case, and I have the inspection here, they were crawling around the kitchen in several different areas, to the point where the inspector found that it met the criteria that he was ordered shut. And I want to be very clear that we are not inspectors. We regurgitate what the inspector finds at any restaurant. We're not inspectors. We regurgitate the public report that is on the web.
Right. So again, on a week where there's multiple, you make a decision on who's the worst offender, and
Of
that's the
course,
one you put.
we only have a certain amount of
Right.
time.
So in a
Uh,
sense, Joe was just his bad luck that he was the only one because maybe something would have been worse that week or somebody else. Like if somebody had had a prior shutdown within the past 2 years, would that put it at the top of a list as opposed to somebody who's been clean for, however X many 15 years?
it depends. I mean, it all depends on the circumstances. If somebody was shut down more than once, yeah, they would probably. This is the second time we've been here. This is the third time we've been here. But if there's somebody that has roaches in a dining room where food may not be prepped and cooked and made, as opposed to the back of the house. Where food is cooked, where prep tables are, because again, roaches usually don't come out at night. During the day,
During
they
the
usually
day,
come
right?
out at night when the lights are out.
Yeah.
Defo, you got something for Jeff?
Oh yeah. Well, first of all, nice of you to come on the show. I've been
Sure.
watching Dirty Dining for many, many years. This was kind of an interesting episode that emerged out of it. Two things, though, Jeff, and as I said, a pleasure to have you on here, doing all the good, job for a long, long time.
Sure.
There on Channel 10 with your investigative reporting. Were you a fan of Mike Wallace and his visits to transmission shops in New York? Number one, and number two, you and the crew decide, hey, we're going to break down now and go to some place, get a burger. How welcome are you when you come to a restaurant just to eat?
Listen, I hear all the time, if you're eating here, it must be clean. I heard that the other.
I ran into him at one of our sponsors,
Yeah.
Grandpa's. I see Jeff out and about.
I eat out all the time.
Yeah.
If you look in the bathroom, if the bathroom's clean, the kitchen's usually clean. I do, want to say also to Mr. Esposito, I don't know him. We didn't target him. He was on a list. I have no ill will to him and or his facility whatsoever. I hope those 80 to 100 people that backed him and that are against dirty dining all show up at the same time and he runs out of food. He's so busy. That is my intention, is certainly not to put him out of business or to harm his business. It is to educate the public, because the public has a right to know. Since the state of Florida does not allow us as consumers to post a letter grade on the door, where else do they get that information? Most don't have access to that. And I think we do a public service. And at the same time, we do clean plate. And if he ever has zero violations, I'd be more than happy to put him on the clean plate list. As we do several restaurants that we show up to, we give them a framed clean plate award that they can post right there for everybody to see.
And those are restaurants that get zero violations.
Zero violations.
Right.
It's not easy to do. And I will tell you, I'll name names: Capriccio's, University. Okay.
Good spot.
2020, zero violations.
Wow,
no roaches, no fire extinguisher issues, no nothing. Since 2020,
Not to be cynical, Jeff, but there are some who would say, well, does that just mean that they have a good relationship with the inspectors?
I can't prove what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I can just tell you what's in black and white. Okay. The Georgia Pig just celebrated 70 years in business. No dirty dining there. Sunny Steak Hoagie, 65 years. Never done a dirty dining there. There are people that do it. If they come in the boxes, bring the boxes in. Open the boxes outside. There are things that you can do.
Luby, you got a question for Jeff?
I was going to say, and it's something that Joe took umbrage with, and I was curious about. I understand, and I wouldn't call this gotcha journalism, because I actually, even if we had grades, I would like a show like this. But the fact that we don't have grades, we live in this state that wants to silence information, I'm thirsting for the truth. So I appreciate what dirty dining does. But I will ask, do you all ever have a conversation before the cameras? Do you ever?
No.
Okay.
I'll be happy to tell you why we do what we do.
I'm
I have
curious. I'm
no,
curious to know, actually.
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. Give us the
I
methodology.
hate the prepared statement. If somebody knows we're coming, I get from all the time, Burger King, Wendy's, and even tell their PR people, if you're going to tell me that our customers are our most important, the press releases, our customers are our most important, it's a waste of time. I don't like the prepared statement. If they know we're coming, the kitchen is going to look like it's going to be spotless. That's not real. I want real. I want real. I want them to tell us exactly what happened and why it happened. And a lot of people asked, and Mr. Lay keeps saying, we snuck in the back door. We snuck in the back door. And I want to explain what we do and how we do it. First of all, everything we do is on, we say tape. It's not on tape anymore. It's on a disc. We didn't sneak anywhere. The inspector had just been to these places and ordered them shut. So one of the things that we do is we drive around the back, because one of the main violations is you are not allowed to have your back door open. If it's a delivery situation, I get it. So what we do in most places is we pull to the back and we sit there and we wait for a little while to see what goes on in the back door. A lot of people sometimes break down boxes and we watch. If it's a delivery, we give them the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, the back door has to be open, but 9 times out of 10, the back door is wide open because it's hot in the kitchen. I get it. But the back door can't be open. It's a violation. It's a state rule. His door was open. We didn't see any deliveries. There were no boxes in the back. There was a slicer there. There was a gentleman standing right there. We were there 15 minutes before. We walked to the back door, did not go in the kitchen. We stood at the back door. There was a gentleman there. I said, I'm Jeff Weinseir with Local 10 News. I never, ever, I'm not flippant about it. I never say, how are your roaches? I never say, this place is roach infested. I say, I'm Jeff Weinseir with Local 10 News. I introduce myself. The gentleman got Mr. Lay. We saw Mr. Lay. It's all on tape. It's all on tape. Mr. Lay comes out. I say, I'm Jeff Weinseir. I'm a television reporter at Local 10 News. Can we talk to you about last week's inspection? Never mentioned roaches right off the bat. It's on tape. He pushes us out of the way, pushes us out of the area, out of the back door. He says, let's go inside. He says, you guys are with Channel 10. He mumbles something under his breath. He closes the door. I say, this is the way I say, you guys had roaches last week. Slams the door. I say, this is the way you want to handle it. And that's when he came out and said, your mother has roaches.
Yeah, your mother.
That's it's on video. It's there. Never said to him in any flippant way, how are your roaches? Your place is roach infested. Never stepped on his toes. That's the way it all played out. It's for everybody to see. And that's the way it went down.
Now, he apologized to your mother for invoking her name. He did
that.
not apologize to you because I guess he doesn't respect your methodology. But does that matter to you? I mean,
No.
were you offended by the mother comment? I guess. Okay.
I've been a reporter for 32 years. I've been doing Dirty Dining for 17 years. I have thick skin.
You've been chased with machetes, right? Or the
That had to be pretty mild.
There are people that, despite it's in black and white, there are people who are going to say we make things up. There are people, I could do a story on the fact that the sky is blue, and there are people that are going to say that I'm lying about the fact the sky is blue. I get it. It's the nature of the business nowadays. The inspector found what the inspector found. Things turned out the way they did because Mr. Lay reacted the way he did. It is what it is. I can't change it. I don't wish anything bad on him. I hope, if anything.
But let me ask this.
It's
not like you don't make anything up. It's all in the report. True. But do you think fairness behooves you to maybe mention, like, whether it's a first offense? And was that contained in this report? Did you try to go back and see his priors and would mention, obviously, if it was a third shutdown of 2 years, you would mention that? Did you mention if this is the first time going back as far as you could tell, or?
I didn't mention that it was I could have, yes.
Is that fair?
Is it fair? Probably not, but based on you guys are snakes. Your
I
mother has
know, I know.
roaches.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
You give what you get. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know. I've been there before.
Excuse me. This is not television. Go fuck yourselves. You guys are a piece of shit. Suck my dick. I mean, you know what?
Yeah,
You
there's
give
no
what
Pretty
cursing
strong,
rule
yeah.
on the lunchbox, but we'll
Yeah.
give you an
He's
exception
from
since this is a
Louisiana.
quote.
He's
Okay,
you
yeah,
know. You give what you get.
okay.
As
All
simple as
right.
that.
Would you eat there?
Would I eat there? I don't eat at places that I don't eat at places that are ordered shut by the state, even if they're cleaned up. It's just my
Really?
personal experience. I
Now,
don't.
and I don't want to say that you're holier than thou, but the whole, obviously roaches, nobody wants roaches. Obviously, they can carry all kinds of, illnesses, salmonella, the foodborne illnesses. But I mean, you've never seen a roach in your house or kitchen area?
Of course I have, but
And do you
I
still
don't
cook
serve the
there?
public.
But you still serve yourself and your family, right?
Of course I do, but I have my exterminator come. I may have seen 2 roaches in my house in my 23 years there, but I just I don't feel comfortable eating in a place that has had that kind of thing. That's my personal business, and that's my personal
I guess I don't know. I
that's
guess
what I
I'm more
do.
forgiving than you because if the food's good and I don't get sick from the food, I'll go back even if they got dinged one time. Again, if it's one time. If there's a pattern, I see that, oh, they're cutting corners. They're serving food 8 days past when they first prepared it, that they might be in some sort of financial difficulties, and then now it might put the
I'm not saying you
safety of the
shouldn't eat there.
customers.
I'm not saying anybody should eat there. That's my personal what I do. I don't eat at restaurants that are ordered shut by the state only because I've been there.
Going back
And
how long? Is there a statute of limitations, or if a
no,
place has
I've
been
just
clean
been
for
there and I've put them on television, and who knows what, anybody's gonna do to my meal behind the
Oh,
scenes.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true too.
I just personally don't eat there for that reason. I
Yes.
don't
Yeah,
want,
I could see
oh,
that.
I don't want any special sauce, you know what I mean? So, I personally just don't do that.
I
But
could
I'm
see that.
certainly not telling anybody to eat there. Personally, if a place is ordered shut and the state allows them to reopen, they're probably cleaner than they've ever been.
Honestly.
Tifo, you got anything more for Jeff?
Well, I was curious because I've seen when you do the clean table presentation, and every now and then, when you mention, hey, Jeff Weinseir, seems to be a little bit of reluctance. You'll ask if the owner is there, and the people at the front go, "Hey, is Joe around? It's Weinseir." And even though you're about to do something nice and drop this, commendation on the place. But kind of along the line of questioning that Mike was on there, wouldn't it make some sense for a place that was violated and featured as dirty dining, which immediately has extremely negative connotations, that if they cleaned up their act and met with all of the specifications of the state, and they're back in business for a year or so, do you ever think about revisiting these places and
Follow
saying, hey, look what these guys did, man? They got violated once and they really went to town. They corrected everything, and this is now a fine. Do you ever go back? It doesn't sound like you do, and say, hey, you guys now deserve, the ultimate in terms of cleanliness certifications because you've really done a fine job of correcting whatever the problem was before.
Yeah, we do that when they wind up on the clean plate list, and we did that at Spanky's Cheesecake, the cheesesteak on 441 in Pompano in, I think it was Margate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Margate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when new owner bought it and it was filthy, and we did dirty dinings there, and he bought it, and a week later the inspector showed up and it was still dirty, and he was on the dirty dining list, and he looked at me and he goes, "I'm going to be on the clean plate list if it." And he was, and we did a whole thing there. We don't have time. I don't have time to go to all the restaurants that are
Yeah.
ordered shut and do I do other, as a reporter, I do other stories. The dirty dining is not the only thing that I do.
Right.
But we be on the clean plate list, and that's the way to do it.
Now, and I appreciate you sitting here with us and explaining because this is a high interest thing. You do get good ratings and clicks on the dirty dining segments. And one of our viewers just now says, I get the value of it, but just showing up with cameras rolling or going out back is a bit much. And I know you don't want the polished PR crisis management response, but what Joe is saying is why not just without the camera crew in tow, just walk in by yourself and say, And look, I'm coming at it as a guy who was a columnist, and I had to put myself in some situations where I know people didn't want to talk to me, but I always gave them a chance to like start talking, and without having our camera person taking pictures of them, and just maybe trying to get an explanation, just also out of fairness to hear their side, and then maybe include that even if they don't want to go on camera. I mean, his contention is, why not just come in through the front door, ask, talk about it. And instead, when he sees you kind of lurking out back, and I guess I can understand because you've been chased before and people aren't happy to see you, that you want to get your B-roll and get whatever you can get in the back before maybe somebody says, get out of here, or I'm going to, trespass you. But do you ever question that methodology, and maybe just kind of go in there and try to just kind of get things rolling just from a perspective of the other side before the cameras roll?
No, I don't. Like I said, I don't want the polished PR answer. I don't want a lot of times we still find violations exist after the inspector was there the week before. So no, I mean, that's the way we do it. That's the way we've done it. I apologize if people, don't like it. A lot of people who don't maybe sleep on it, or don't like the way they responded, or don't like the way things happen, do call us the next day or maybe 2 days later and say, hey, offer an explanation and have a civil conversation, which maybe Mr. Lake could have done, didn't. We could have had a conversation and, taken a few steps back, and he could have all the things he explained to you, and all the things he certainly explained on Facebook. We could have had that conversation. Didn't. That could have been something as well. But I'm not going to change my methodology. I'm not going to change the way we do things. This is the way we do things. And sometimes we catch people a week after the inspector was there still doing the wrong thing.
Yeah. Just one last thing. One of our viewers, Joanne, I think she used to be an inspector up north at one point. But have you ever done like a ride along, spending a day either with cameras or without, with a health inspector, just to get a sense of what they do and see also?
No, they don't I've asked numerous times.
They won't let you.
Yeah. All right. Defo, anything else before we wrap up with Jeff? And we appreciate.
Oh, I appreciate him coming on the show. That's great. And as you said, he does other investigative reporting, so it's not like a Help Me Howard thing where the guy has one job and you're wondering what he does the rest of the week while everybody else is saying, "Hey, wait a minute."
At this point, Finkelstein is playing golf. He's retired. So.
I don't think he does it.
Yeah, but no, I appreciate it. I keep coming back to this, and being in sports my whole life, I mean, there's always examples of the guy that had a brilliant career but made one dumb play, and that's what he's known for. Bill Buckner, Jackie Smith, among others. But so I'm kind of sensitive and think along the lines that Mike did, that maybe you have to kind of look at an overall body of work. But you explain your position on that, and that's how you operate, with everybody. So I guess in that sense, it's fair that the first violation is a major development. And, as we know, with inspectors and things of that nature, there could be some things that are overlooked. This is Florida after all. So, you're doing your job, and I guess, I respect the fact that not only you have a thick skin, but you have to have a pretty tough exterior. Because I would imagine there have been many times when what's the strangest thing that's ever been thrown at you during this period of time? Did they ever go with the frisbee plates? I mean, did they ever just like use them as if they were one of those ninja stars?
We've had plates thrown at us. We've had doors slammed in our face. At the Ham and Eggery that's no longer with us on 167th and 6th Avenue, he had a flock of turkeys, wild turkeys.
Turn them loose.
A Hitchcock movie, right?
There's feathers all over the place while he's making eggs, and I was like, I mean,
great
you name
job,
it, we've kind of seen it.
Did you come in with like a Gallagher cover? As if the guy's about to squish a watermelon, or have you ever worried about your clothes?
No, just do what we do, and it is what it is. And like I said, I certainly appreciate. People make mistakes. I appreciate the first time factor, but there are, you're dealing with people, foodborne illness that can get people sick, and the roaches. I understand the first time, but they spread disease. And if you do your research, whether it's people shrug their shoulders.
But just point of clarification, as far as you know, nobody has filed any kind of complaint of foodborne illness or food
No, of
poisoning from
course not.
Esposito's. Right. Okay. So
No, not at all. I'm not talking in generalities. And the truth of the matter is, we've asked the health department, and a lot of people go home and they say, I have a stomach ache, and they blame the food, and not at Esposito's. I'm not talking about Esposito's.
right.
And it's so hard to prove
Yeah.
unless 18 people from the same place
It's the
complain
same thing, and right,
about the
exactly.
same thing. It's hard to prove
Very,
that
very hard.
this is where I got sick from this place. Proving a foodborne illness case is nearly impossible because people just say, "Oh, I got sick," and they don't really know. And did you get sick from this meal, or did you get sick from breakfast? You know what I mean? It's really hard to prove.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Before we let you go, one last question. This is not an endorsement, but what's your favorite restaurant around town? And
Where do you like going?
we go all over the place. I have kids. I don't know. I don't really have.
All right, I don't want to put you on the spot. That's it. You're not a paid endorser. You don't have to give your favorite.
Yeah,
What's the restaurant that you ate at most recently? That's something that's factual.
Last night. Well, I don't. This is going to be. Last night we ate at John the Baker.
Oh, nice.
That's
Yeah, we
Good
wanna
spot. Yeah, no doubt.
That's in the bakery.
Very favorable reviews.
Yes,
Let's
we
eat
ate at
South
John the
Florida.
Baker
But I
last
mean, when you go in there, I see like the poor guy that owns the place has to be thinking, what on earth did I do?
Well, I mean, John the Baker, I grew up in North Miami Beach, so we ate at
Okay.
Mario the Baker on West
Yeah.
Dixie Highway, which is John's uncle. So it's like a whole.
Defo, the marker is usually if he comes with his kids, that's a good sign. If he comes with the cameraman,
But who knows? He has to
not
go
so
undercover. I mean, it's not like he rolls in there with the cameras right away. But
he's-
all right,
Yeah,
excellent,
we're
Jeff.
gonna
Thanks
let
so
you go.
much.
We
It was
know
a
we
pleasure.
got lots of things to do. We appreciate you carving out a full half hour of your day to join us here on the
No.
Lunchbox. I hope we can
No
do
problem.
it
It's an
again.
important topic.
Yeah,
Honestly, I'd like to
good.
talk to
Yeah.
you more. We're not.
All right.
Only guy scarier walking into a restaurant than Mayo is Jeff Weinseir.
Weinstein. Actually, that's true.
Yeah.
Jeff
They
Weinstein.
cower in fear when Mayo walks in. Even if he's giving them a favorable review, they're wondering why he's back.